Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayla's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, it is Monday. Welcome aboard, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us here on this edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always. Looking forward to another day, another week, as we'll get your week started off right. Don Fischer will be joining us on the program today, as well as Dustin Dopirak, Greg Rakestraw as well. Get you caught up from what happened over the weekend, who won, who lost, who didn't play, who's where. The Colts rolling on. Another win out on the West Coast this time as they travel back to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers and former Colt Jim Harbaugh. But the Colts take care of business with a two-score win as they roll on. What are they now? 6-1 on the season. Colts rolling, taking a lead in in their division. Of course, in the NFL, as the Jaguars took another L over the weekend as they were over across the pond. And I mentioned this, I think, or maybe I didn't. But the Rams, who played the Jaguars, went there the day before. None of this, let's get there a week in advance stuff. Yeah, let's get there, take care of business, and roll out of there. Sounds like the old Signetti lineup, which works. Worked again for the Hoosiers over the weekend, as now they are the football team 7-0 and moving up to number 2 in the latest AP top 25 college poll, the highest Indiana has ever been ranked. Of course, we'll say that every week, as if there's ever a change. The Ohio State Buckeyes maintaining that number 1 spot, of course. No surprise there. Was it Texas A&M? And is Texas A&M or Alabama the best team in the SEC? Good question right now. Maybe we'll find out if those two play in the SEC championship game. At the top, though, you've got Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Alabama, then Georgia, then Oregon. So the top 6 teams in the AP poll coming from the SEC and Big Ten. Then you find Georgia Tech moves up 5 spots, mainly because of the losses that took place over the weekend. Ole Miss took it on the chin, but they dropped 3 spots, but they're still in the top 10 at number 8. Miami dropped 7 places, but they're still in the top 10 at number 9. Vanderbilt vaults up 7 places to hit the top 10. Vanderbilt is in the top 10. Yeah, let me say that again. What in the wide world of sports is going on? Vanderbilt and Indiana are in the top 10 in college football, people. That's where we are today, and you got to love it. That's what makes it so incredibly fun. You just don't know who's going to do what. Notre Dame hanging around. They move up to number 12. BYU jumps up 4 spots. What are they now? Number 11. Missouri, 6-1. I still think that they're underrated. Missouri. Man, the SEC, how many guys do they have? Let's see. You get the 3, 4, 5, 6 in the top 13, 7 in the top 15, 8 in the top 17. The Big Ten, you got Michigan jumping in at 25, Illinois, the Illini back in at 23. Texas still hanging around. They drop a spot, although they win in overtime at Kentucky. That's just a joke for Texas. They're 5-2 with a weak schedule. I mean, yeah, they played Ohio State, but that was at the start of the year. Yeah. The Colts keep it rolling. Looking forward to talking to Don Fischer. I'm sure he's having a blast. Ari asking how stupid a Big Ten championship ticket purchase would be at this point. Prices going up by the day. Going to a basketball game that day. Thought maybe I could catch football as well. Well, you better get them now, because Indiana very likely to be heading to the Big Ten championship game. It's going to take something very unexpected for that to not happen. I think that not getting a ticket right now would be an oversight. That's right. December 6th, Indiana plays Louisville, I believe, in Indianapolis, the same day which is at 2:00 in the afternoon. Then that evening, you've got the Big Ten football championship taking place at Lucas Oil Stadium at 8. Hey, and before I forget, how about our guy Chase Briscoe? Big win at Talladega Motor Speedway yesterday on the NASCAR Cup Circuit, as he is now punched his ticket to the championship round. My man going for a NASCAR Cup title, and is right up in there. I was smart. I took a $50 bet on him to do just that at the start of this thing. Ooh, that would pay pretty well. Hopefully it comes through. There you go. Merry Christmas. Yeah, I'd buy those tickets, man. Of course I would buy those tickets. It would be sacrilege for you not to, because like I said, it's going to take something major for this not to happen. As crazy as that sounds, it's going to take a major upset for Indiana to not play in the Big Ten football championship game. And we're saying that, with 5 games left to play in the season. Was saying that with 6 games to go in the season. It just is what it is. You fan asking what are the highest odds anyone has gotten on Mendoza for Heisman? Yeah, I don't know. Good luck with those as well. That's one you should have gotten on a long time ago. Uncle Phil says, don't count chickens before they hatch. No, but saying that it would take a major upset for Indiana not to play in the Big Ten Championship is just speaking the truth. They're going to be favored in every game they play the remainder of the season. So any of those games would be an upset. And it will take a major upset. Indiana's the second-ranked team in the country. Is everything guaranteed? No, nothing's guaranteed in life, but that's just how you got to take that. We've got to take a break. Don Fischer will be joining us. Looking forward to that. As always, in addition to the great peeps like Greg Rakestraw, Dustin Dopirak, but most importantly, each and every one of you. Glad to have you along. Glad to have you on this Monday. As it's starting to get a little chilly. Starting to get a little chilly as these days go by. Don't need that going off. Appreciate you being with us. Don Fischer should be joining us on the other side when we return to the ISB studios. Appreciate you.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue. And you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Don Fischer joining us here in just a second. Glad to have you along as we're rolling along into deep October, man. We're halfway through it, and we're halfway through the college football season, as crazy as that is to say. But, yeah, it is, and I don't want to be one of those that gets tagged on Jimmy Kimmel. Can you believe it's October? Can you believe it's November? Yeah, it happens every year. Same time every year. So, don't have that. Well, let's see. Make sure that Don has that once again, so he can join us here. Make sure that we can't have fun without Don. Can't have the show without Don. Nope. And you've got to have the correct link. So hopefully Don will get on here with us in just a second, but I know he had a great weekend. He had basketball and football, little double dose. as Indiana basketball had an exhibition on Friday with Pat Knights, Marion Knights. A lot of night action going on there. But that action is Don getting his double duties early on in the season so far, getting that voice into double duty time. Going into the UCLA game, at least you have 5 games on film on how to prepare for them under their new head coach, according to Bill. Yeah, that's something because it's amazing to see what they have done as far as since they've made that changeover, they've won. That's crazy in and of itself. And for a team that has been as bad as they have, to maintain the mental ability to do those things that you need to do to maintain a winning mentality. I gotta say, man, now who's bumping for coach of the year in the SC or in the Big Ten? Apparently what I'm sending to Don is not working, so we'll have to keep trying that. We're going to try to do that again. So bear with us as trying to get Don on the show here today. Normally we don't have this problem with Don. So not sure. But we'll keep trying. Why would we not? Got to have Don on the show. You wonder how his feelings are as having had to call these games when they were 3-9 just a few years ago, and now to be able to do what he's doing with this winning program, going to places that never could have imagined that they go to. It's got to be a blast, especially with the fact that you looked at he's toward the end of his career, not at the end of it, but I would think that would be the case. Like I said, it's a lot more fun to cover a winner. Period. End of story. Indiana started out a little slow in that game over the weekend. It was, I guess, everyone's, I don't want to say complaint, but something that they noticed. But, man, you're coming off of – this team has to get up and play every week for people that are gunning for them. There we go. There's Don joining us. Don, I was just talking about how this has to be so much more fun for you. I mean, just covering a winner is more fun, but having come off of those last few years where Indiana was just not having the seasons that they would like to have had in football, but to have this kind of a year of a back-to-back year where now they're ranked second in the country. We're playing against the major teams that they are the favorite. Now they're the favorite to go to the Big Ten championship. That has to just be a blast for you for what you do.
Well, there's no question this is unique for Indiana football. And when I say unique, I mean that in the strongest sense because we've never experienced anything like this in the past. And it's just fun. It's fun to be a part of it. It's fun to be a broadcaster, a play-by-play man doing these games because you're getting so many opportunities to make calls that you normally wouldn't get or normally haven't gotten in the past. And the thing about it is I just feel really good about the Hoosier Nation, the fan base that has embraced this team here in the last 2 years. Without question, it started slowly under Kurt Signetti. But when he went to social media and challenged the student body to be there, that seemed to change everything. And in my opinion, Coach Signetti has done so many different things to energize this program. And this year, he hasn't had to do half of those kinds of things. If you notice his what they call the so-called bravado of Kurt Signetti, not there.
Signetti-esque.
Yeah, I mean, he did that. He basically said this program needed a kick in the butt, and the fan base needed a kick in the butt to understand that this is different. What he's brought to the table is just a different type of football, and obviously the different type we're talking about is winning. It's called winning on a consistent basis, and I'm just excited to be a part of that. It's really fun, I know you are the same way in that context. And look, this is a football team this year, in my opinion, that's better than the one last year. It has a better offensive line. It's got a quarterback, and I loved Curtis Rourke. I thought he was the best we'd seen in Indiana in a long, long time, especially his decision-making. I've never seen anybody better than him. But I could tell you this, that Fernando Mendoza is starting to challenge that area too. His decision-making, his ability to see the field, his receivers are phenomenal, as we know. And all we're seeing at this juncture is just an upgrade in virtually everything this team is capable of doing. And it seems to be coming out full bore each week. And some people have said, well, Saturday's game didn't seem to be a great performance by the Indiana defense. They're not going to have a perfect game every week. They're going to have a team that gives them some challenges, and they're going to have a team that gives them challenges this week. UCLA is a good football team now. They've always had the individual talent at UCLA. They had great talent last year when Indiana went out and beat their butts off in that matchup for the first time in history for IU. And they had a lot of talent last year. They just didn't have the right coaching staff. And all of a sudden, they've got that just on an interim basis with Skipper, who's the new head coach on an interim basis at UCLA. And then on top of that, their talent level is unique because they always have great athletes in California, and they've got a ton of them on this team.
Yeah, I think that UCLA has found their new coach, without question. I don't think they'll be looking any further. But yeah, since they have changed, it's amazing. And what that does to a team, because now that team and those players, they're rejuvenated, man. They feel like, hey, we can win. We can do the things that can be done. And all this talk about travel, I'm done talking about travel. Signetti has shown how you don't have to worry about that. The Los Angeles Rams just did that with their game against the Jaguars, in which they traveled to London. They traveled the day before, Don. They're like, all right, we're going to do this. So, the travel stuff, forget about it. You got to do what you got to do. And Indiana has been doing just that as they have gone through the season. And now, I hate to put the cart before the horse, but unless something terrible goes wrong, Indiana's going to be playing in the Big Ten championship game. Yeah, they've got to take care of business. They've got to win every game out to that. But that is ahead of that's what lies ahead for this team. And to be able to say that with 5 games left is nuts. But everything we've done for the last 2 years has been nuts. So why not keep it on?
Well, there's no question that that's a possibility, and I say it's a possibility because you got to win the games first. To state that they're going to be in the championship game at this point is a little premature, as we know, but it's believable. That's the thing. I mean, it's believable for our fan base. It's believable for this football team. It's believable for us that follow it from a sportscasting standpoint. There's no question that this team is capable of being in that championship game. And right now everybody's speculating that it's going to be Indiana and Ohio State. Well, that's still to be determined. So we'll just have to wait and see on that.
You've got the return back to Hoosier Hanks East for Inside Indiana Football with Kurt Signetti and yourself this Thursday?
Yeah, it's I can tell you this, Jim. We have to find some way to get more seats in the building because the last 2 weeks have been sold. I say sold out. The last 2 weeks,
standing room only, I'm sure.
Only. Exactly. And last week we had a ton of people standing. It's very much like the last show last year, or the last 2 or 3 shows last year, in which our audience was huge. And you can only get so many people into Hoosier Hanks, and they've gotten everybody in there that they possibly could. They had people sitting outside on the back patio they've never opened up before. They put tables out there in this restaurant just so people could eat and then come in and listen to the show standing in the back of the room. So it's amazing how many people have decided that they're going to be a part of this in whatever way they can be.
Champagne problems, Don. That's what they call champagne problems, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, I apologize for getting on here late today. The link just didn't work for me.
No worries, brother.
We'll have it figured out the next time we come on. All right. Thanks for having me, man.
Enjoy it. Don Fischer, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio as Indiana continues to roll on. The Colts are rolling on. High school was rolling on. Greg Rakestraw from the ISB Sports Network. He's set to join us next. We'll do that right after we take the slight pause for the cause. Back with more after these, messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Glad to have you, and glad to have our good friend Greg Rakestraw from the ISB Sports Network. Sir, how was your weekend?
It was fantastic. Hope yours was the same.
Always the same, man. As we're heading into that great part of the year, football season is in high gear. The weather is fantastic. Got all kinds of great stuff. Chase Briscoe with a big win out of Talladega for to put himself in to prime position to try to win a NASCAR Cup championship, which that is wild. That would be crazy. So we've got all kinds of good stuff going on. The high school season rolling in toward the end. What do we have? One more regular season week?
Nope, we're on to the postseason. So the 5As and 6As are largely off because there's 33 teams in 5A this year. So there's one 5A game this Friday. All of 6A are off. So 1A through 4A take the center stage this week, but the playoffs are officially here.
Man, I always say I don't want to wind up on one of those stupid clips where I can't believe it's
we're in. I can't believe it's in October. I can't believe. Well, yeah, you can. It happens every year at the same time. It rolls around at the same time every year. But yeah, it just seems like we were just starting the season, but it has rolled through, and man, it has certainly been a good one. Whether you're talking about college or the NFL or high school, these seasons have been great across the board. The competitive level has just risen for everybody, it seems, Greg.
Well, what's crazy is from a high school standpoint, obviously you're going to have great teams every year. But the difference is on Saturdays and Sundays. And so the thing that myself and my colleagues with the Colts, and that's obviously carries over to a lot of the Radio 1 family, where obviously the Indiana football and basketball games are heard in the Indianapolis area. We keep going, boys. We had better start clearing our schedule for meaningful football games for both the Hoosiers and the Colts in the month of January and potentially into February. I mean, that there is a scenario as far as the Colts are concerned. If they keep winning, they'll be the number 1 seed, and they wouldn't start the playoffs until January the 17th or the 18th, because the end of the season is January the 4th. And right now they're in line to get a bye. They have the best record in the National Football League. The Buccaneers can join them tonight, obviously from the NFC. They're able to beat the Lions. But Saturdays and Sundays have been absolutely spectacular, considering that the Hoosiers and Colts are a combined 13-1 to start the season.
And actually could, I hate to say should be, could be, whatever.
Absolutely. No doubt. Seriously. The Colts, against a good team, the Colts gave the game away. Yes.
Yes. And it's like, and you don't want to be like that, but it's like, man, that was legitimately, especially where we're coming from. We're talking about the losingest program in college history and an NFL team that just had not had it going. They had just been kind of spinning their wheels in the mud for the last couple of years. Now it seems like, boy, those wheels just caught a hold and shot them out of whatever ditch they were in, and like, boom, they are rolling. Right now they seem to be playing the best football in the NFL. And that is unbelievable. That's like me talking about Indiana, the Hoosiers being ranked number 2 in the country. They're ranked number 2 in the country.
Right.
The Colts, probably the best team in the NFL right now. How in the world has the state of Indiana gone from being what it was 2 years ago in football to what it is today?
It's an amazing turnaround. And again, it's different. You cited it, quite well in terms of, this Indiana success is off the charts only in comparison to last year. Obviously, we've been there before with the Indianapolis Colts. It's just been a matter of time. So here are the milepost for success, so to speak, for this Colts team. This continues to be their best start since 2009. And the longer they keep winning, Jim, the longer we will trot out that stat, because that 2009 team started 14-0 and made the Super Bowl. So that's kind of the 16 years ago is the last kind of great Peyton Manning season with the Indianapolis Colts. To use the Peyton Manning analogy, to give you an idea as to how good the offense has been for the Indianapolis Colts, 232 points in the first 7 games of the season. That is something the Colts franchise has not accomplished dating back to Baltimore and dating back to Johnny Unitas. So for even as great as Peyton Manning is, was, and ever will be, Daniel Jones is off to a better start in his first 7 games of this season than any of the seasons that Peyton had in the 13 that he played with the Indianapolis Colts. Now, when it comes to January success, here are the dates to remember, or the years to remember. The Colts have not been a playoff team since 2020. The Colts have not won a playoff game since 2018. They have not won the division nor hosted a home playoff game since 2014. And those are the things that are at stake right now for the Colts, given the fact they have a full game lead as to having the best record in the AFC. They own a tiebreaker, one of the teams behind them, because they beat the Denver Broncos back in week number 2. And they are now 2 games clear in the division, with Jacksonville losing yesterday to the Los Angeles Rams.
How in the world can, like, I can ask some very, what's the word I'm looking for? I know the answer to the question.
Like if I asked who were the two best receivers in the history of the Colts organization, I'm assuming it's going to be Marvin Harrison and
most folks would go Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne of the modern vintage. If you have somebody that's got a little seasoning in him, they might go Marvin Harrison and Raymond Berry from the Baltimore Colts. Since Raymond's one of the numbers that is retired by the franchise.
Baby. Well, my point of asking this, and then if you ask the best quarterback ever, you're going to have arguments between John Unitas and Peyton Manning,
right?
Of course. But the sheer fact that you're going to have Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, best running back ever, you're going to throw a couple of those guys in there. My point being is everything from the best ever are from an era that has already been beaten by this current team with receivers most people probably can't name right now. If I had to make them do it real quick, I mean, you can with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, but how crazy it is. We're talking Hall of Famers in Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning and just everything about those Colts teams. But yet these no-name guys, I hate to call them no-name guys, but no-names are just obliterating what some stuff they did, and some of the stuff they did, we looked at the time like, wow, how's this possible? These are crazy numbers.
Well, here's what I would say in terms of comparison to past eras. There are two guys on the Colts that I think you can have the conversation about. One is getting to that level, and the other one, it's so early in his career, but man, the early returns look really good. So the Colts, and especially the Indianapolis Colts, have been remarkably blessed in terms of the running backs that have come through here. So you're comparing Jonathan Taylor to Eric Dickerson, Edgerrin James, and Marshall Faulk. And the fact that you can compare him to any of those three guys who all have busts that reside in Canton, Ohio, tells you how special JT has been. Jonathan is just shy of 700 yards rushing, has 10 rushing touchdowns. Jimmy has 3 games with 3 rushing touchdowns apiece so far this year, and that's through 7 games of the season. So Jonathan is quickly climbing the charts as to the Colts leading rusher of all time. Now, again, Eric Dickerson, Edgerrin James, and Marshall Faulk also comprise numbers with other teams. So I'm talking about specifically during their time as an Indianapolis Colt. But Jonathan Taylor, as a running back, is in the MVP conversation. The Colts have 2 players in the MVP conversation. That's how good the season has been, both he and Daniel Jones. Obviously, Daniel Jones has to be a really good quarterback for a long time to enter the Peyton Manning, Johnny Unitas chat. So let's kind of table that for a second. Fantastic 7 games. He's going to do this for about 10 more years, and then we can have that conversation. But the other guy to bring up here is Tyler Warren. And Tyler has been so good that 4 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown are almost mundane for him, which is what he had yesterday. And while he does not lead the league in tight end receptions, Jake Ferguson of the Cowboys does that, and Trey McBride is second of the Arizona Cardinals. What Tyler does lead the league in is receiving yards by a tight end with 433 through 7 games. And he has taken what was an obvious weakness for this football team. Tyler is probably a game or 2 away from passing individually what the entire tight end position did last year for the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts had 38 catches by tight ends last year for the season. That is an average of a little more than 2 per game. Tyler has 31 through 7 games so far this season. So I do think, as we're having the conversation and trying to offer some historical perspective, Jonathan Taylor may end up beating the greatest Indianapolis Colts running back ever. And that's a mouthful. And Tyler Warren is 7 games in, but I think it's possible we're talking about being the greatest Indianapolis Colts tight end ever. Like he could get to the conversation with players like Dallas Clark and John Mackey. And again, that's a bold statement, but that's how good he's looked, Jim, through 7 games.
Yeah, and it's been a blast, and it's like I just talked to when I was talking to Don Fischer a moment ago. He's been doing this even longer than you and I, and my part with yours would be a very minuscule part. But he's been doing this for a day or 2. He's had a game or 2 under his belt. But I can't imagine having to go through what he was going through with football and basketball at the same time. Those programs just not, let's just be honest, they were both sucking. And when you get toward the end of your career, not that he's at the end of his career, but towards the end of your career, that's not how you want to. Well, now, boy, you want to talk about flipping the coin to the other side. He's going out with doing things that he probably never dreamed of. A potential Big Ten title game in line for Indiana. That's nuts. That they're going to be playing at Lucas Oil Stadium, man,
right,
for a legit game. That will be crazy in and of itself. The basketball program kind of coming around. It's just like with whatever, when your involvement with the Colts, or if it's Matt Taylor, it sure is just a lot more fun when the team you're covering is a winner or is competitive at the very least, because that brings more involvement in everybody else that you're talking to.
Correct. And again, the only thing I'd say about the Colts is that it's simply been a generation. Again, the longer we got removed from it, we were reminded how spoiled we were for almost the entirety of Peyton Manning's era. But if you want to whittle it down, there was a 7-year stretch, Jim, where they won 12 games or more every year. And I used to joke you would fall out of bed and win 12 games, and people had no idea how good they had it. And since that time, the Colts have not equaled that feat in the regular season. In Andrew's first 3 years of 12 through 14, they won 11 games, and they made the AFC Championship game one time. That was the Deflategate game. And again, even that was 11 years ago at this point. So there have been longer and more suffering fan bases from the Colts perspective, but it's still been a while. In terms of IU, there was not a more suffering fan base in terms of college football. Maybe Northwestern before the Rose Bowl in 95. People forget how bad Wisconsin was until Barry Alvarez got there in the early 90s. And maybe they're hearkening back to those days, seeing empty seats in the game against Ohio State and scoring as many points against the Buckeyes as you and I did on Saturday afternoon. But Indiana is in that conversation. And the fact that now we're not laughing about Indiana going to the Big Ten championship game. You can add the line, and they don't have to buy tickets. The Big Ten will actually want them to be in the championship game. To have that in your backyard, knowing you're 5 weeks away, but all signs are pointing it's you and the Buckeyes in the championship game. That's remarkable stuff to say about Indiana football less than 2 years into Kurt Cignetti's tenure.
Yeah, and that's big for the state as far as high school football, because more people start paying attention. It matters. It seems like it matters more. You start to produce a little more talent because it matters more, because it's being paid attention to more. When you have pro teams in the state that seem to usually involve themselves in high school, at the high school level. And I don't know if we'll see more talent coming out of the state of Indiana because of this, which there should be no correlation there, but you never know. It might be the case. Indiana is not a state that, is known for football talent, mainly because of population size. That usually comes to population and warm weather states. But hey, it definitely produces talent that plays at Ohio State, at Alabama, at all kinds of these places that end up playing in the NFL. I mean, there are plenty of guys that we talk about that are playing in the NFL right now, Greg, that are from the state of Indiana.
Yep, guys that I covered as high school football players. And to your general point, Jim, I do think that what Indiana is doing, if they sustain it, will lead to another football boom in this state. And if you go back to high school football from the mid to late 90s until now, there was a very positive effect from Peyton Manning being a part of the Indianapolis Colts, that they made football more important on Sundays, which by proxy made football more important on Fridays. And again, I see it because I'm doing high school football every Friday night. I'm doing high school basketball 60, 70 times a year from the middle of November until the end of March. It is hard for basketball to replicate the atmosphere at football on a lot of occasions now where football, and not every Indiana high school, and let's say in most high schools, say from north of State Road 46 and up, football is the much bigger deal than basketball is, just to be blunt. Now, does not mean that certain games, certain matchups, certain round of the tournaments, that changes. But again, the Indianapolis Colts are a big part of that over the course of the last 30 years, and could sustain success for Indiana University football even further that for high school football on Friday nights. Jim, I believe that could absolutely be the case.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and it just makes football in this state better. Notre Dame, Indiana is probably going to be maybe the only state that sends 2 different teams to the college football playoffs, because I am convinced that Notre Dame is going to make it.
Right.
It still says Notre Dame across their jersey.
I would throw Georgia Tech and Georgia your way. That might be the other example of that, but it is still a point that is well made.
Great catch. Great catch.
Yep.
Yeah. But the fact that we're talking about Indiana comparing to Georgia in high school football or in football, and then Purdue, I've got to give Purdue their flowers, man. Barry Oldham has done a hell of a job coming off of what they were coming off of, dealing with the conference he's dealing with. They haven't gotten the wins. They're probably going to end up with maybe just one more win than they did last year. But the difference in product on the field is night and day.
Yeah, they were disappointing, I thought, against Northwestern on Saturday. But I think they've got a winnable game coming up this week against Rutgers. Again, we all kind of knew Purdue was not going to be a bowl team this year. It was about trying to get as many Big Ten wins as you could. You knew the first 2 games you get those W's against whom they were lining up, and then the rest of their schedule would be difficult. I thought maybe Saturday was a bit of a step back for them, but big picture, I think they're going in the right direction for sure.
And had this been a year ago, we might be looking at the potential for Indianapolis playing for the rights to draft Fernando Mendoza. But But fortunately, there were things for Colts fans. Things changed, and that won't be the case. But man, how would you like to be considered the best player in college football, and then your reward to be to go play for the worst team in professional football?
Right now that team would be the Jets, the team that everybody had kind of earmarked that was going to have the number 1 pick was the New Orleans Saints. They're not far away. They're 1-6. But the obvious thought was, all right, they're going to go after Arch Manning. Well, I'm not sure Arch has done enough to justify going into the NFL draft or be the number 1 pick at this point. And there is a team that would be ahead or behind, depending on your perspective, and that being the Jets, who obviously have needed a lot of positions, and quarterback being one of them. You know, they put up 6 points in their 5th home loss of the season yesterday to get to 0-7. So my guess would be Fernando Mania could be coming to New Jersey, because he might just be the number 1 pick in the draft, because quarterbacks always are valued more highly. You know, there's always going to be a run on quarterbacks. And right now, there's been nobody that has been better than him at the major college level. He could be the Heisman Trophy winner. I think, frankly, there's a better chance he's the number 1 pick in the draft coming out of this group.
Yeah, I agree with you, man, and which is just going to make it all the more fun as this season goes along. What is your schedule look like for this upcoming week?
So when we get to the opening week of the sectionals, and the 5As and 6As, for the most part, have the weekend off, it allows us to kind of see teams that we don't get to see on a regular basis. Chittard is one of the best programs in the state, and one of the teams that is most likely to win a state championship. They have won all of them at the 3A level, at least in the modern era. Well, they're one of the favorites to win the 4A championship this year, too. Now, they got beat on Friday night by Cincinnati Elder, which is one of the top programs in Cincinnati, and frankly, is Chittard kind of punching above their weight. Chittard is 7-2, but their losses were to Cathedral in a close game in the game against Elder on Friday night. They will take on Mooresville. That game is in Mooresville. You can catch the game on MyNBTV 23. Once we get to the postseason, all games are streamed exclusively via ihsaatv.org. First 4 rounds are free streams. You can watch that game for free from anywhere. But Chittard and Mooresville will be my game coming up on Friday night, Jim.
And that's the one you definitely want to catch, but you want to catch them all and catch everything from the ISC Sports Network as it's just getting started, people. It goes all the way through, all the way into the summer, and then all the way into the fall, and there's no break. It just keeps on rolling. But
I get a day off one day a year, and that day's not today. So, Jim, we're in good shape.
That doesn't come until the leap day in July.
Once every 4 years, yes.
There is no leap day in July, unfortunately, so that comes around even less and less likely. Greg, we appreciate you as always, my friend. Go get your 1 week, 1 day off of 1 hour of freedom. As soon as this show's over, you get 1 day, 1 hour off a week, and that's on a Monday.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, sir. Greg Rakestraw from the ISC Sports Network joining us. Make sure you give him a follow and keeping up with all that they have going there, because that keeps you up to date with everything that's going on in the state, whether it is high school sports or some smaller college and whatnot all around the state of Indiana. That's why this is Indiana Sports Beat Radio, baby. We cover the entire state, Colts, the Pacers, the whole deal. The whole schmeal. Happy birthday, Jay Gritty. Birthday day for Gritty, and congratulations to Sarah Sizemore. Got some closings going on. We've got lots more coming up. The great Dustin Dopirak. He's a Hall of Famer in my book. He's a Hall of Famer in yours as well. We just haven't found the Hall of Fame to put him in just yet, because it has to be special. Not just any Hall of Fame can hold Dustin Dopirak. Maybe it's his own. Maybe we create the Dustin Dopirak Hall of Fame, because there's nothing else that quite compares. Lots more coming up. Glad to have you along with us. Plenty to get to on this Monday as we're starting off another great sports week here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with all that and much more right after these messages. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Monday. Glad to have you along as always, and glad to have Mr. Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star Pacers beat writer, as well as our just sports guru extraordinaire, home of his own Hall of Fame, the Dustin Dopirak Hall of Fame.
I'm gonna tell my wife about that. We need to work on my own personal Hall of Fame.
It's already started. Let her know that it's already been started. It's just maybe just find a closet. Maybe just there's got to be a closet there someplace, and you just open it up. And every time you open up, maybe a banner falls down. Welcome to the DD Hall of Fame. How was your weekend?
Good. Lots of sports. we're down to 4 more days before season starts. Not even 4 more days, 3 more days to the opener. Obviously crazy amount of football on this weekend, crazy amount of baseball on this weekend, a lot of just utter wildness going on in there between, the Ohtani game on Friday night was insane.
Can we just, I mean, are we serious in this day and age where sports are great? Professional athletes, they're usually great in multiple things. Like, generally a lot of baseball players are great golfers, or it could be basketball. But if they're just a great athlete, they're great athletes. But the stuff that we're seeing Shohei Ohtani do is stuff that you see happen in high school when somebody is such a dominant athlete that they can just dominate something just because they want to do it. Right. And it's like he's showing off.
He is.
I'm like, dude, what is this? You're competing against the best of the best, and yet you're the best.
Yeah. I think what actually adds to it is he'd had a terrible series up until then.
Yes, his bat they had wondered if coming back to pitching was hurting him at the plate.
Yeah, I think he'd been really good while pitching and hitting for most of the month of September. Just had a bad stretch. Just was scuffling, chasing too many pitches, and part of the reason he chases too many pitches is he can one hand, he can chase a slider that's on the outside of the plate and, low and away and somehow throw his bat at it and still flip it out to right field. It's nuts what he does. He had a triple, in game 3 where it's he barely had his top hand on the bat when he made contact. It was just so far out there, he just kind of threw his bat at it and hit it. And so you get a little bit of hubris and you start throwing your bat at some of those. Especially when you're struggling, just trying to get a cheap one, and it wasn't working for him. He was swinging stuff like a foot off the plate, stuff with, the stuff that was breaking away from him. He was chasing. And he went out and I guess he did batting practice on the field, which I guess he almost never does. It's almost always cage work. And then he's ripping it again. And he's been pitching this well the whole time, but the stuff he was throwing out there last night, I didn't get a chance to watch the whole game because I actually missed the first 7 innings because I was watching the Pacers preseason. And I put it on in the 7th inning, so I got to see the 3rd home run. But then I saw the strikeouts, kind of in a one of those edits where they did somebody put a video on Twitter where it was the strikeouts and the home runs in chronological order. So it was 3 Ks home run, 3 Ks home run, 3 Ks home run. And some of the stuff he's throwing out is just ridiculous. He threw a slider that just looked like it came out of a video game. It didn't look like a normal person could do it. And no, it's insane. And the second home run is 469 feet, and it's over the pavilion. Corrugated, whatever you call it, back there, the roof, basically in Dodger Stadium. It's you just haven't seen anybody do stuff like that, and to do it at once is it's absurd. He's just absolutely incredible. And he had a terrible series up until then, and he's clearly the MVP because that game stands out more than any game you've ever seen a professional baseball player play. It was utterly madness.
Yeah, and
it's not just high school stuff. You don't see high school players do that. You see the kid who was your shortstop and pitcher in Little League do that because that's the last time that you're that far ahead of everybody else. Even in high school, even the guys with 600 in high school don't do that.
No, it's when you're in Little League and you've got that one guy that is oh man, what is he, 16?
Right. And the rest of you are still playing. Everybody who can't actually field the ball is still playing, at 10. So even at Pony League, you don't see that where everybody who can't actually catch has decided I don't want to do this anymore.
And how about the home run hitting this year? Think back to when Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa and the rest of that business was going on, chasing 60. We had all these guys chasing 60 this year that were legit. Cal Raleigh caught it. Right?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Did he hit? Is he still
he
at
hit 60? He had 60 even, and then he's had 4 home runs, I think, in the postseason. I think it's all like we're at a time where it's all power. It's interesting. I saw like our guy Pete DePremio tweeted this out in like August that they were like only so many, like 3 or 4 300 hitters in the league. And, like he pointed out that, like, the last time this happened, it was like 68. And like the year later, they raised the mound because that's how dominant pitching was. And obviously, in that year, they didn't have 4 guys hit 50 and another however many guys hit 40. I mean, there was like 140 home run hitter. I think it was Frank Howard had 44 that year or something like that. But it's just like, it's just all power on both sides. Pitchers are throwing 100. Batters are just hitting with an immense amount of power, and they're uppercutting everything. That they're striking out a ton, but they're like, they're stuff that's chest high. They're swinging with an uppercut. Like, people didn't used to even try that because it's like no one thought you could do it. It didn't make any sense, to try to uppercut something that was already that high. And it has led to a ton of strikeouts. Like it's an absurd amount of strikeouts, but it's just power on power now. And so when you connect, it goes forever, so like these guys are bigger. They're more, just more physically strong. They're uppercutting everything, and the guys are throwing 100. So like the combination of that is when the ball gets hit, a lot of times it doesn't even get hit, but when it does get hit, it goes very, very far.
Yeah. Cal Riley, man, hit 60 home runs in the regular season, and it was as if it was not a big deal. And
I think it's a big deal. The tough part is
major big deal.
Yeah. The tough part is a question between whether he or Aaron Judge is the MVP, because Aaron Judge's numbers are absurd. Like, he didn't hit as many home runs, but across the board, it's nuts. Like, I mean, OPS of like 1.1. I mean, like it's totally wild. And so
for our listeners, OPS stands for
on base plus slugging. So, when you're like, what's his? So slugging, if you don't know what slugging percentage is, it's total bases divided by.
Kyle Schwarber's is 928.
Right. So, and Kyle Schwarber had a crazy season.
Which means he gets on base pretty much every time.
Not exactly, but like 40% of the time, which is a ton. Which is an
baseball. It's a lot.
Yeah. And so, like the two of the, like those guys, you had 4 guys hit 50. I think you had 4 guys hit 50. I think Eugenio Suarez, I think, just missed it.
Actually, there was more than that. You had Aaron Judge hit 53, Shohei Ohtani 55, Schwarber 56, and Riley was 60.
Yeah, I said 4. So, yeah, 4 guys hit 50.
Yeah,
one guy, Eugenio Suarez hit 49, Junior Caminero at 45. So you had 7 guys hit at least 40. 4 guys hit at least 50. And
it's crazy.
Kyle Schwarber is probably not going to beat Ohtani out for the MVP because Ohtani hit 55 and he did this
thing on the mound.
Yeah, that
something on the mound.
Yeah, and but Schwarber, 56 home runs, 132 RBIs, 928 OPS. Usually is going to get it done. For a team that won the East, like Schwarber should finish second for National League MVP. And, a lot of years that wins. A whole lot of years that wins.
And a couple more years like this, and Schwarber's heading towards the Hall of Fame.
Sure is. Yeah, no, he is sure headed that way. I mean, I think, Zach Osterman was making the case, like he's still got time left, And
I mean, he's especially as a DH.
Right. You're seeing his best baseball now, like over the last couple of years. I mean, he hit kind of a wall a little bit. In 2020 and 2021 was a pretty good year. Well, no, 2021 he only played 41 games. I'm sorry, no, that's with Washington. I'm like you saw him kind of fade a little bit in Chicago towards the end, but he get back going in Washington and Boston, and then his Philly years have been special. 46, 47, 38, 56 as far as home runs are concerned. Strikeout numbers are crazy, but his walk numbers are really, really high. He's both cracked 100 walks each of the last 3 years, and playing with that lineup with Harper and everything like that. He's done a lot of winning there as well. And like that stuff matters as far as being an MVP, or not being an MVP, being an MVP, but being a Hall of Famer. And I think he's probably going to get another crack at it at a World Series at some point. It's one of these teams that's going to make it. He's had an absolutely special career, and I think he's heading in that direction. He's at 340 home runs right now. Generally you crack that 400 mark, you're usually pretty safe. You're usually going to get there. 500, you certainly are. I think so. If he gets to 450, I think he's in, and I think it's pretty safe that unless something really bad happens, he's going to get to 450. He's had just a special career. It's obviously so cool and amazing to think about the fact that we covered him, covered him when Indiana baseball was playing at Sembauer Field,
Yes.
And it was practically, that was just his freshman year, but that thing is not even a good high school, ballpark. And that's where he started his college career. But
that's what makes it so great.
And that's what makes it a great story. It's what makes it a great story.
Hey man, speaking of great stories, college football, Indiana, one of those great stories. Vanderbilt, one of those great stories. Georgia Tech. Right now in the top 10, you've got Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, and Indiana. I promise you, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, if you would have said, all right, what are the chances of these three programs being in the top 10 in football coming
ever at once?
Soon? Oh, yeah, at once together. It's just no way is that going to happen. And BYU is sitting right outside of that. But these are not the programs that you think of when you think of college football, especially here in the last 5 to 10 years, as programs have really, become these juggernauts, whether it's been out of the SEC for the most part. First it was kind of Clemson out of the ACC, kind of setting it up. Then you had the SEC with their runs of Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, and now it's been the Big Ten that's kind of on a run. It looks like that could continue, whether it's with Ohio State or could Indiana be the third consecutive Big Ten national champion? It is a possibility, as crazy as that sounds, but that would be something, because I think the Big Ten is just, I've said this, they're just not as deep as the SEC is right now, but I think that they're better than the SEC is at the top.
Yeah, it's like everybody's right there. Obviously, you have the teams that are not supposed to be there, and then you have the teams that are. You've got Ohio State and Oregon also still in the top 10, and then it's you've got Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia. Ole Miss is kind of in that line, but Miami as well, and Notre Dame not too far back, and Oklahoma not too far back. So obviously we'll see how this thing, this whole thing shakes out. But for Indiana's case, Indiana, they're there. They would have to. It would be a shock at this point. It would be a fairly big surprise if they are not undefeated through 12 games and heading to the Big Ten championship to play Ohio State. That right now would be a surprise. You would not expect at this point, the way Indiana's playing and the way their schedule sets up, it's wild to consider. They are number 2, and there is not, there is not an obvious, major hurdle. There are stumbling blocks, potential. Obviously UCLA's gotten it going a little bit. So they got them going this week. That Maryland, I think, is a little bit dangerous. But those last 3, Penn State, obviously not long ago looked like it was going to be a major football game. Penn State looks rough, man. They look rough. My alma mater is having a rough time. And, because not only do you change coaches, but you change quarterbacks because you're, Drew Aller.
Should they have made that coaching change at that time? What does that do for them?
A short answer is probably yes. Obviously you find out once you make a hire. Then you're not really gonna be able to answer that question until 3 years from now or so. If it was a good idea. I generally think yes, because it just felt like the bottom was falling out. And it also had, there's also this sense of you would have lost Iowa too, you weren't winning that game with Franklin. I don't think like, and not necessarily because like, it would be like his doing that they screwed up, but like, again, you've got a new quarterback, and like all of a sudden you have to just change midstream, and you're coming off 3 losses, and Iowa's a tough out on the road. I mean, like that game wouldn't be close if they didn't block a field goal at the end of the half because Kirk Ferentz decided to kick a 66 yarder. And that was kind of a pretty wild decision. And so, I think like they're if they were 3-5, 3-6, you'd be like, okay, like what do you like this is just heading in a bad direction. Nobody's it's just not in a good place. I mean, I think like I saw him somewhere compared to Tom Crean. And I think that's it. It actually is kind of telling on that on like a number of levels, because it's like, okay, like if you were to say, okay, you're going to get a standard season for him, for eternity, and like, okay, like you're always going to be pretty good, you're always going to be 10-2, would you keep that? And like I would say you would. Like, and if you were like, okay, well, if you're going to get Big Ten titles and go to the Sweet 16, like, wouldn't you rather have that? But like, I don't think those decisions were made on the basis of that's what you were getting going forward. I think the decisions I think were made on the basis of feeling like you didn't have momentum. And there were, like I don't think either one of them did anything horribly wrong, but like one way or the other, like the momentum wasn't going in that direction that you were going to get, their best or their standard season going forward, that it was going to get rougher and that like the trajectory was going to go down. And so like I think that's what you were looking at. It was like you went into the season, being number 2, and then you're losing to Northwestern, or you're losing to UCLA, and it just had a sense of, okay, like what are these guys doing here? And so I get that, and you were gonna have to rebuild. I mean, they were starting to lose players already. And certainly it's different now with transfers and everything like that. Like you can make up for losing top high school recruits by going and get people in the portal. But there was a lot that just didn't seem to be headed in the right direction. So I get the idea of just ripping the Band-Aid off. I mean, like people were done with it, and it was, you're already, not that fans should determine what happens, but they're already showing up and booing the guy. So like if it was going to go bad anyway, I guess it doesn't hurt you as bad as you say, okay, look, we already committed to a change. Like we know this isn't great. And we know this isn't going in a good direction, but, show up for us, give us the best, kind of support that you can. And we're going to go find, a better coach and start this thing over. So I get that. I mean, I don't know. Like I mean, I guess in theory, like maybe they would have been able to pull up over the course of the season, but like just the just lacklusterness of, the UCLA, they just didn't, they didn't show up until halftime. Like I hate I don't often like using that, and maybe like I'm more willing to use it because it's my alma mater, like subconsciously. But like you're watching them in the first half, like what this is different. Like what are you guys doing? Like you're used to. You should be able to win this game when you're rough.
Talk about the change that has happened at UCLA since they made that coaching change. How crazy that's been.
No, I mean absolutely. Like I mean they are dramatically better. So I was like, what happened exactly? And like went over Maryland's a big deal. Jerry Newshousel's done some great coordinating. Tim Skipper's done a great job. Like, I think I didn't, I just knew they were bad as far as like what they were up to before. But like, they got a super talented quarterback. He's a very, very controversial quarterback in Nico Iamaleava. I hope I pronounced his name right. But man, like that guy's tough to corral. Like he's very, very athletic, got a real dough arm. Like, I mean, I don't know sort of what's held him back generally, but obviously he was a massive recruit. Like Tennessee had to spend God knows how much money in NIL to get him. And like you could see it basically in that game when UCLA beat Penn State. Like I haven't watched him super closely, but again, he took helped take Tennessee to the playoff. He's a super talented guy, and that gives you a chance. And I think that's made them they've found some level of rhythm with him. They found a way to get their offense going, and that's put them in a position to have a chance in some of these games basically. And a lot of cases you got a quarterback at that level, he gives you an opportunity to win football games, and Nico's giving them a shot.
Yeah, and it's boy, and things had not gone well for Nico Iamaleava even before that, because he actually took a pay cut to go from Tennessee to UCLA, and then obviously Tennessee was looking better with Joey Aguiar, who went from UCLA to Tennessee. So, but now UCLA,
not a bad trade, but also Tennessee's getting into the teeth of its schedule. UCLA's caught some people that are not at that level. But Tennessee had to play Alabama.
How crazy would it be if UCLA was able to find themselves into a bowl game? That would be an absolute crazy scenario.
It would be. It gets rough after this.
Absolutely.
Indiana, Nebraska, Ohio State, Washington, USC. If they win 3 of those games, that's pretty impressive. That would be pretty wild. But it is hard to find 3 wins.
Yeah, they're not going to win this weekend.
They should not. I mean, Indiana better come prepared, but I think they are. I think Cincinnati. I think what Cincinnati did this week was a big deal. Beating Michigan State like that, coming off of all of that hype, is a big deal.
I don't see a win on their schedule, to be honest with you. The remaining. I mean,
Nebraska and Washington are possible, but Indiana, Ohio State, and USC.
I think Washington's on the rise, and Nebraska's kind of fighting through it. So, everybody needs to win there. So, not good.
I don't think they'll beat Washington. And so I don't see it. It's still impressive for a couple of weeks, doing that. But that's the thing about just college football right now, is that we're scheduling is so all over the place because how big these conferences are, and you kind of don't know where anybody's and that's what makes it tough to rank people, is you kind of don't know where everybody's pockets are of when you're really playing people. And so it'll all wash out in the end, and you'll have a better sense of where everybody really belongs. But it gets real for UCLA after this, and
it does, and it gets ready. It gets real for a lot of people. I mean,
sure.
Indiana, on the other hand, they're fortunate. They're although this Penn State game, if people are writing that game off, you're out of your mind. You still have to go play in front of 102, 3, 4,000 people, whatever it is. They still have the same talent that they had, save for the quarterback.
They're not a quarterback, though. That's the thing.
For the quarterback. But
that's a big issue. And maybe Ethan Bruckmeyer figures it out in that time. But he looks like a redshirt freshman quarterback that got thrown in when your main quarterback got hurt.
Where's Bo Pribia playing at now?
Missouri.
There you go.
There's winning. Yeah.
There's their backup quarterback.
Yeah, because it's and because he was stuck. He was stuck behind Aller, and and that's basically you have to go out and get your money. If somebody, if there's a better quarterback ahead of you, it does not give any, it doesn't make any sense to be anybody's backup quarterback in college football.
Oh no, because there's somebody that will pay you to not be a backup and be a starter.
Yeah, if you're a good backup quarterback, the money's going to come rolling in from somebody. And
have you seen a team better than Indiana or Ohio State this year?
No, I haven't. I think Ohio State's excellent, and Indiana is right there. They're not far off. I mean, just they're dismantling teams. I think
is Indiana's defense or offense better?
What's up?
Is Indiana's defense or offense better?
I honestly don't know. I mean, they're that both of these teams are that good on both sides, and Ohio State looks outstanding. Ohio State isn't letting anybody score. But Indiana's not that far off, defensively. I mean, just they've taken teams apart that can really, that can score. Holding Oregon to 20 is a big deal. Oregon's not a great offense. Oregon isn't what you've seen in the past from Oregon. They're even last year's offense with Dylan Gabriel and all those guys and Troy Franklin, they were at a different level than this group is. Oregon's offense is okay, but it's not spectacular. But they still, holding them to 20 is still a deal. I mean, they haven't given up Indiana hasn't given up more than 20 to anybody. And, offensively, when they want to roll on you, they really, really can. Everybody, like all those receivers getting open, multiple running backs with explosive ability. Mendoza's a legit Heisman candidate. You've got a good offensive line. I mean, they've got everything you need. Ohio State's got everything you need. Like that's squaring up to be, one heck of a football game. And whoever, both of those teams are going to get in the playoff either way. And they're both going to have a shot. And, they could end up playing each other again in the title game. It could absolutely happen. I don't think that's out of the question. Now, Kalen DeBoer got it together big time. Alabama.
Oh, Alabama is rolling right now.
Yeah, Alabama got off the canvas and they look really good. I've seen them look better. This isn't like necessarily a top of the line Saban team, but they got in the teeth of that schedule. They've beaten 4 ranked teams in the last 4 weeks. Georgia, Vandy, Missouri, Tennessee. Those are all real wins. That's impressive stuff. They still have South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, Auburn left on that schedule, but they look good. And they, now what's going to happen if they were to get, what would happen if they played A&M or if they played Ole Miss? That's a different question. But, those are 4 real deal wins in a row. And, that's impressive to be able to pull off that stretch. And like that is, to your point, the thing about the depth of the SEC. I think they're going to have even more of a case this year to be able to get a whole bunch of teams in because they're all playing each other and they're beating the crap out of each other. And so they're going to get 2 lost teams in, like they 100% will. But, they look good. A&M, I don't know how good A&M is, but I saw them beat Notre Dame, and they look pretty good doing it. And so they'll get a couple more tough ones. So they get LSU, Missouri, and Texas left. They'll get to prove it. Ole Miss still looks really good. Georgia still looks really good. That's still a tough team. Those teams are going to get in there and they're going to be SEC teams and they're going to be tough. But, to me, I think Ohio State and Indiana still look like the most complete teams right now. I was surprised Miami got beat, because I thought they looked really good too. But
at home.
They're good for messing up from time to time. Miami tends to screw it up.
It happens in this sport. Let me take a quick break. Dustin Dopirak is with us from the Indy Star. Appreciate you being with us as well on this Monday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you, back with more right after we take these quick messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Glad to have you along. Glad to have Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star, which you should be making sure that you're giving him a follow, keeping up with all of his content, mostly to do with the Indiana
Pacers.
But he is a Renaissance man. He has covered it all, and he keeps up with it all. And Pacers season's around the corner, man.
Thursday.
You got to get down. I saw that the cut day is coming. Is that today or?
They have 7 out. Well, they have made a cut. They could roll with this roster. They are compliant, if you will, right now because they.
Well, I have to ask the question I always ask: did I make it?
Unfortunately, you didn't, Jim. You got to work on your handles next time. You got to play with more pace. Basically,
same old man.
Every time. You really got to work on that.
Same old.
You're gonna make Rick Carlisle's team. It's really important. Unfortunate, but yeah, no. So
defense could help this time. I thought my defense would matter this time.
You got to pick up full court, man. You got to pick up full court. It's really important. No, I think so. They made a cut on Saturday, and it was a pretty surprising one, and it puts them in a difficult position, and but does leave open for the possibility they might still try to do something else in the next. We got 7 hours, I guess, before the 5 p.m. deadline. They waived Cameron Payne, who they had just signed 9 days earlier to be their backup point guard. And so at the moment, they don't really have a functional backup point guard or not. It's not, they don't have a functional one. It's not obvious who their backup point guard is going to be on opening day. TJ McConnell is out until at least November 9th. At least that's when Rick says that he will answer me if I ask him about him again. And because he's got a sore hamstring. And so, they either signed or tried to sign 3 veteran point guards over the last month, to try to at first be the third point guard behind Andrew Nembhard and TJ McConnell, and then, be the backup once McConnell got hurt. And, basically it didn't end up working out with any of them. Monte Morris, they were going to sign, but they did a medical evaluation, found a calf strain. They're like, okay, well, you're going to not be able to play in camp, so we don't think we can use you. DeLon Wright, they signed him, and in the first game, he takes collided with Timberwolves guard Jalen Clark. He got, blood everywhere, and I guess concussion, a head injury, they said, and so they just waived him the next day. I decided, okay, well, we're moving on from that. They signed campaign, and I guess weren't impressed with the level of play and decided to not keep him. So basically, they tried 3 veteran guards, didn't like any of them, and they don't have one. So they have options, that they could use. Ben Shepherd has played some point guard before. Jarris Walker has played some point guard before. But they haven't really played that in the NBA. 3 guys that are on 2-way contracts all could run the point: Quentin Jackson, Talon Peter, and Ray J. Dennis. But Quentin Jackson's out for at least the opener with a hamstring strain. Talon Peter had never played point guard before, and they'd played him in preseason. He was actually the backup point guard on Friday night, but he'd never played it before. He's had a really good preseason for a guy that was the 54th pick in the draft. But it's not obvious. So, they could, Rick said, we're looking at the waiver wire. We're looking at people's uncles, cousins, whoever anybody wants to talk to, we're looking at. So it's conceivable they could go in another direction and get somebody between now and 5 o'clock, or they could just, roll into roll past the deadline with the roster they have and then waive somebody after that and say, okay, we're going to go another direction before the opener. There's still things they can do to move stuff around, but they're an interesting scenario. I think that their main guys have had a really good preseason. Andrew Nembhard, Ben Mathurin, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam have played well and really well together. I think you've seen them find a lot of good chemistry so far, but that bench got hit really, really hard, by injuries. McConnell obviously is the biggest one, but Jarris Walker missed a game with back trouble. Ben Shepherd missed the first 3 games. He is back, but missed 3 games with a calf issue. Johnny Furphy, sprained his ankle. He'd done some really impressive things in camp and had a pretty ridiculous dunk, I think, in the second game. They obviously went he don't know how long he's going to be out. So do not know what their bench looks like right now. Obi Toppin is still on it. You can trust one productive guy. The center position hasn't really, just formed in any real way. So Like they go in with some answers. I think the guys that you've been able to trust, you're still going to be able to trust. But there right now are a lot of people that are in positions that are a lot bigger than they probably expected to be. They're probably going to have to rely on their two-way guys a lot for the first couple weeks of the season.
Yeah, and as we get started, it's going to be hard for fans coming off of that great year last year with the excitement that lasted well into the summer, and to come into a season kind of, I hate to say with those hopes dashed, but you certainly go in with your expectations being a lot lower. Maybe that's a good thing. Coming off of that season, I don't know that the expectations will be lower and that anything above that is positive.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that what they've said, it's what's very like the interesting dynamic to look at is the guys that are back are so battle tested and they're also used to being underestimated. I mean, like they weren't expected to be a playoff team in the 23-24 season, when they made the Eastern Conference Finals. They certainly, I think last year, everybody knew last year's team was going to be good, but I think everybody viewed and throughout the season was like, okay, well, there's roadblocks there. You're not getting past Cleveland, you're not getting past Boston because both of those teams won 60 games. That's what the Eastern Conference Final is going to be. It's set in stone. Like everybody knows that's who's going to be. It's just a question of, okay, how far do you get in between? And if you get beat by Cleveland in the semifinals, you had a good year. I mean, that's really what I said. I mean, I picked them to win 50 games to get beat by, and get the 4th seed and get beat by the 1, because that's generally what happens. When teams are as good in the regular season as Cleveland and Boston were, they generally end up in at least the conference finals, and one of them ends up in the finals. And they managed to bust that up by beating Cleveland in 5. And so they're used to being underestimated. They're used to saying, hey, we've got a formula for winning in the playoffs and you guys don't understand it. So, or don't understand it, but like you guys don't think it's going to be as good as it is, and it will. So trust us, like we're going to outwork people. We're going to pick up 94 feet. We're going to move the ball. We're going to push pace, and we're going to exhaust people. And that's going to make us a tough out. So trust us, we've done it before. We'll do it again. And, that's kind of where those guys' heads are at that point. The main guys, like the Nemhards, the Matherins, the Neesmiths, the Siakams, those guys have all been in those positions before. And, Neesmith, Siakam, Nemhard in particular, like just watch us. Like you've underestimated us before. We'll do it again. And McConnell is the same way, and Toppin's the same way. And like all of those guys have kind of been there before. But, the issue is just going in with this lack of depth. I mean, what the problem that you have is you have no margin for error when it comes to injuries. You can't have any more, when you're already missing a $50 million player, a all-star, 2-time All-NBA guy, the rock around which your whole team is built. You can't afford to lose depth players. You can't afford to lose depth pieces. And, they're like McConnell out for a month is rough. I mean, like that's going to be 9 games at least that he's going to miss unless he heals faster than they're expecting. That schedule's tough. You play the defending champs that you just lost to in the opener in the Thunder. You go from there, you got a 3-game road trip right after that with Memphis, Minnesota, Dallas. Those are three teams that were at least in the postseason last year that at least made the play-in. Then you come back home and you get Atlanta, who looks really good, who loaded up in the offseason, got some key pieces, Kristaps Porzingis among them. You got Golden State, who's Golden State, still got Steph Curry, still got Jimmy Butler. Those guys are a problem. Then you get Milwaukee, Miles Turner, with his homecoming game, because I'm sure everybody's going to be happy to see him. But they have Giannis, whatever you could say about Miles, whatever you liked or didn't like about him, Giannis is a top 3 player in the world. So, it's going to be a while before you got an easy game. And really November 5th is the first game you look at and say, okay, well, that's one, they get Brooklyn November 5th. And that's the first game you look at and say, well, that's a game you ought to win. But then after that, you go on the road and you get Denver, Golden State, Utah, Phoenix. I mean, and particularly those first 2, Denver and Golden State are tough ones, and that's a back-to-back. So, your first 9-10 games of the season, there's not any easy ones. and so you could find yourself in a hole real quick by virtue of just not having the depth. I think that starting four can compete with a lot of people, and throw in whatever center you want, they're going to be fine. But the second unit minutes are going to be tough. Like, you're going to be asking a lot from guys who have not had a lot of experience. And so I don't think morale's bad. I don't think that not having high expectations bad. Like, I don't think they come in thinking, I think playoffs is something to shoot for. I think they want to keep winning. I think they are insulted by the idea that people keep using the term gap year. Because they're not looking at it that way. You can't make these guys tank, or these guys take it easy, the Siakams, the Neesmiths, the Matherins and such. But it can happen if you lose enough players. If enough guys get dinged up, you got to be like, okay, man, like we just ain't meant for it this year. We got to just come back and reload. And so it's like they can, like losing McConnell is one of those ones. Even for a month, it's like, okay, like you just got to hang in there for a while. But there's injuries they could have that you got to wave the white flag. If Siakam gets hurt, it's like, okay, like this, it's just not going to be there this year. So that's the thing is when you lose one, you can handle it, but if you start tacking those on, it can go south pretty fast.
Yeah. And the one thing that Indiana has managed to do is to not allow themselves to be at the bottom and to where they are rewarded with a higher draft pick. They always manage to land in the middle.
Sure.
Is this one of those times where, and it's hard to, no one wants to tank. It's hard to talk yourself into it. Even if you're saying, all right, this is for the better good, the greater good. It's just hard to do that. And it's not what is supposed to be done. It's not how the game's supposed to be played. So,
if you're going to, I just to speak on that real fast. You don't tank by asking guys not to play hard. That's not how it works. Like if you're going to successfully tank, it's not asking guys how to play hard. It's how you put the guys out there, but it's also like generally tanks happen fairly organically. If you're in a lot of cases just too young, and so 2 years ago at the end of the 2022-23 season. So they'd gotten Halliburton, they had Buddy Hield, they had Miles Turner, they had Neesmith, they had Nembhard. They had a couple guys dinged up, and they were kind of on the precipice of they were probably 11th in the league. That's like, okay, if they put the pedal to the floor, they could have got the 10. Maybe if they went all out in the last 10 games of the season, they had a chance to get the last play-in spot. But it's like, okay, at that point, it was still like you still could use more pieces. It doesn't make a lot of sense to try to go all out just for the opportunity to play in a play-in game, and your postseason might be out in a game. And it's like, okay, was that really worth it when you could have got something? And obviously, like this year, will that the narrative will tell itself over the course of the year. If I don't think it makes sense big picture for. They've had a hard time getting some of their top young players on the floor. They've had a hard time playing Jarris Walker over the last 3 years. So it's like they don't need to go get a top 10 guy that they can park on a bench when Halliburton gets back. They don't need that. They need a center. I mean, they do. And so maybe that makes sense that there's a guy out there, and I haven't looked at the mock drafts too closely to say, okay, well, they need to tank for this specific guy, and solve all their center problems. But I think it makes more sense to maintain the muscle memory of winning with these guys, because they've just been there. They're too experienced, they're too old, they've been around for too much. You're just not getting guys that have been to the mountaintop to call it a day. You literally were one game away, one half away from winning the whole thing. And so you're not going to tell those guys to take it easy. You're not going to tell those guys, oh, we're going to play you less, anything like that. I mean, like I said, I don't think that happens unless the bottom falls out and they lose enough games. And they think the only thing I think that could happen to make the bottom fall out is guys get hurt. Now, enough guys get hurt and you don't have to tank. It just happens. Like the 76ers didn't have to tank last year. They were out Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Kelly Oubre missed some time. Like they were hit hard enough by injuries that they didn't have to make decisions to try to lose games. It just happened because like they didn't have any of their main guys. There was like $150 million worth of player on the bench. And so, in street clothes. And so when you're paying that much money for guys that can't play, you're not going to win a lot of basketball games. And so, like if the Pacers have a similar scenario where they stack important players, on the inactives list, then, they're not going to have to tank. They're going to have to make any decisions. It'll just happen. But they, I think if they can stay healthy, they can be a playoff team. But they've had some tough breaks in camp already between McConnell and Furphy, Quentin Jackson, and Jarris Walker. Like a lot of those guys, they'll probably get back pretty early. But I mean, like the Thunder are as good as they are because they've got great depth. Both of those teams had great depth last year. And, like the Thunder are going to run out a really good second unit, and the Pacers are going to be missing a lot of their key bench players. And that's going to make it really, really tough on Thursday night.
Absolutely, man. And looking forward to this getting underway and getting started. I'm sure you're just ready to get back to work because it's been no fun not getting to have to work every day.
Yeah, I know. I was really crushed to be going places and doing things over the summer that weren't work. No, I'm excited. I'm intrigued by what this is going to be. And you get back into the rhythm and you get going again. And so, I love my job. The challenge is fun.
At least it coincides with
the time away. So
at least it coincides with kind of the summer, kind of like being a teacher in a way. So
sure,
you got that going for you.
You get back into the cold months. It's time to work again anyway. When it gets dark at 5, you'd rather just be working. So.
You know him, you love him. You can't live without him. Dustin Dopirak. If you're not following him, you're missing out just on just entertainment and all the way around. He just like I said, he's the Hall of Famer, baby. Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Dustin Dopirak. Make sure you're giving him a follow. More coming up from Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with all of that and more right after these messages. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Glad to have you along. Jim Coyle with you, and appreciate you guys joining us as always. Let's see. Gave a shout out earlier to Chase Briscoe. Want to give him another shout out. Won the Talladega yesterday in the on the NASCAR Cup circuit, and now that puts him in square in the center of going for the championship. And this is a big deal, man. this is high cotton here from Mitchell, Indiana, right down the road, running for Joe Gibbs Racing. He's won a few times this year. He's won at Pocono. He won at, I believe it was, down there in down in South Carolina there at the Southern 500, Darlington, and now at Talladega. 3 completely different tracks, and now he's going for the Cup Championship. And ironically, the probably his biggest competitor is his team partner or teammate. Oh, daggone it, number 11, Denny Hamlin. Yeah, from Joe Gibbs Racing. So right now, he's sitting up there at the top. And let's see, 4 drivers eliminated after this race coming up, which would be this Saturday, or this Sunday rather, in Martinsville. So they've got that going for him, which is nice. He's locked into that race. He's locked in. And this is the last race that you can get in. Chase Elliott down at the bottom, Ryan Blaney down at the bottom, Joey Logano and William Byron, both 30-something points out. And does this come down to one race, I believe? Yeah, comes down to the one race. Man, that would be something. It'd be something for me because I put $50 on him to win it, and it pays like $1,500. Yeah, I'll take that. Heck yeah. Hey, looking forward to tomorrow. Of course, Mike DeCourcy. We'll see what else we can get. Met Ralph Russo out in Eugene, Oregon from The Athletic when we were out there for the game. Let's see if we can get him on tomorrow. Pat Forty from Sports Illustrated going to join us on Wednesday. Looking forward to that. Plenty more coming up as this week rolls out. We'll be talking to Kurt Signetti today and have all that for you tomorrow as well. So all kinds of stuff coming up for you as Indiana taking on UCLA this week. And UCLA, buddy, is not the UCLA that they were 3 weeks ago. Now, does that mean I think that Indiana is going to be in fear of losing this game? No, they should not be, because they are, if not the best team in the country, I think they're one of the top 2. I don't think you can determine who the best team in the country is. That might be Indiana. It might be Ohio State. It might be Alabama right now. We don't know. That's why things change as the season has progressed. Now, Ohio State, they haven't really played anybody yet, have they? Texas is not. No. Texas barely won at Kentucky. Texas should not even be in the top 25, in my opinion. But they are. So what are you going to do about it? Hey, we're back tomorrow to do all of this again. And I'm looking forward to it. We're going to try to get Chase Briscoe on sometime soon as well. Hey, make sure you're joining us back tomorrow. Like I said, we'll hear from Kurt Signetti and more. Appreciate everybody for joining us on the program today. Until then, I am Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.